Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video, and today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends Wasp from the Retro Collection Wave 2. Here we have Wasp displayed on this retro card back with her name there at the top, and then we see Wasp displayed with her mini Ant-Man, her only accessory as called out by the little starburst there at the bottom. On the back, we do get a hand-drawn piece of artwork there of Wasp, and I actually really like it. It's a really good-looking piece. And then we do have a quick read-up. Many criminal masterminds have underestimated the diminutive dynamo Wasp, only to find themselves on the receiving end of her bioelectric sting. And then we do have all the other figures in this wave. And then down at the very bottom corner, we do have the UPC code, so you can try to look this up and see if it is available in your area. But enough about that. Let's get this open and take a look at Wasp. And here is Wasp outside of her packaging, and it's a very good looking figure. I love these retro wave figures, and I like the throwback stuff that we get with them, and I'm really happy that Hasbro gave us both Ant-Man and Wasp in the same wave and didn't split them up or anything like that. And I think it's really cool too that the accessories they complemented each other. So Ant-Man came with the mini Wasp, and Wasp comes with the mini Ant-Man. That's actually kind of cool because I remember when these first came out, somebody said, cool, I don't need another Ant-Man, and they just got Wasp so they could have the mini Ant-Man, and that was enough for them. So to each their own, though. That's fine. Now, speaking of that mini Ant-Man, he's actually a pretty cool little figure with a fair amount of paint on him, actually. So we get that high contrast red and blue costume. You see the black going down the middle, even have silver there on his belt. But unlike Wasp, we actually got a little bit more detail in the face. The helmet does have silver paint on it, and then we can even see an attempt at flesh tones and even little black eyes on there. So that's actually pretty cool that they did try to get us a little bit more detail on this figure, and which I wish they had done with the Wasp minifigure. It just did something with the face. Now, when standing straight up, Wasp is coming in at about 6 1/8 inches tall, which makes her about 15.6 centimeters. And one of the greatest things about her is she doesn't have those high heels that we see plaguing some of the female figures, so that way we don't see that extra height out of that. Now, with that being said, since she only came with that Ant-Man figure, there's not much else to look at, so let's just jump into closer looks and get a look here at Wasp and her wings. And getting up close, we can see a very well done head sculpt, and I have to start wondering how many of these female figures are sharing the same face sculpt, because I'm starting to get the idea that there's not a whole lot of real distinction in the actual face when it's this blank expression. But of course we do get a good hair sculpt here. We get that short bob, and it looks good. We even get some shading in there as well, just to help bring out some of the details. So I like the head sculpt, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm just wondering how many times we've seen it before at this point now, actually. I don't know, what do you think? But looking at like the eyes and the lips, not bad. Lips look like they might have been a little too high, but that's all right. Looks pretty good. Looking at some of the paint here on the chest, one of the things that I'm a little upset about is some shoddy paint work here. So it gets a little globby, and then I think it was on the back side. Where was it? There's a spot on the flesh tone. Well, I mean, right there you can see the blue coming through right at the hinge. A little bit of a miss down there where that V is. I thought there was a spot somewhere else. Maybe it'll show up. But I mean, you can see it's a little bit splotchy, and doesn't look the best. You can see some of the flesh tone there seeping through on the black. So, I mean, it's not terrible, but it does look a little odd. And then you might notice, too, it's ever so faint, but you have a slightly different shade of blue for the upper torso to really the rest of the body. I mean, the rest of the body looks like it's pretty good, but it's almost like a slightly lighter shade there at the top. Now, I did say I wanted to save the wings, mostly so that I could kind of try to get the exposure level there to show off the shimmery purple that you have in this wing, and the light's catching it just right. I hope the camera is picking it up. That looks like on my monitor, like it might be picking it up pretty good there, but really cool looking. I like that. It's semi-translucent, like you can see her arm and my hand through it, but it's not so translucent that you can't notice it. But I really do like how these came out. Pretty simple design, and you do get a little bit of articulation on it. You can actually rotate them up and down, and then of course the lower wing is a separate piece that can rotate. It's hinged right, or ports in rather. There we go. It's a lot easier to see when I get up close. It ports in right there. And then, like I said, these are hinged, so you can do whatever you want with them. And they do just port right into these really ugly spots on the back. And we're going to pull those out for the remainder of the review, just so that it's easier for me to get her around. So there we go. And then looking at the rest of the sculpt work, pretty standard female sculpt, nothing too crazy. We get these open gesture hands, which I kind of wish we would have gotten like at least one fisted hand, just because these are always great for flying poses, but you know, maybe we want to have her fighting. And we get a little bit of paint there, and we get a little bit of a mismatch there. How about this side? Not as bad of a mismatch. But overall, doesn't look too bad, and like I said, pretty standard female sculpt. Oh, what do we got there? Glob of black paint, it looks like, because I'm pretty sure this is molded in the blue, so yeah, just a glob of black paint. No big deal, it's on the back. So now, looking at the articulation, I already went over the wings, so looking at the head, you do have full rotation. It can look down very far and look up quite a ways as well. But if you look up too much, I mean, that is just, you can see all up in that head sculpt. So it sits maybe kind of high. I don't know. It looks like it might be a little high. I mean, you can see that neck hinge quite plainly there. And the head does have a fair amount of movement just on that ball joint without even moving the hinge. But yeah, I guess it's all right. The arms will come up, wow, very high. So no worries there. You got full rotation, the classic single-jointed elbow with rotation. Then you do have rotation and a hinge at all the wrists. You do have a diaphragm joint that is actually not going to spin around all the way, and if it does, it feels like it's cutting into the plastic, so I don't want to spin it around all the way. And if you tweak it just right, you can get a little bit of side-to-side motion, and you get a little bit of crunch forwards and a little bit of crunch backwards. Not too much there, though. Legs don't come apart too far. You can kick forward, backwards, non-existent. Upper thigh cut, double jointed knee. You do have a hinge and ankle pivot. And that about does it for this video, everyone. So overall, not a bad looking figure. I mean, decent enough paint, but we do have, at least on mine, just a few little flaws that aren't unexpected, I'll say, though, with a Marvel Legends. We get some pretty basic wings, but then again, they don't really need to be overly complicated. I think the hinge design and everything works well. The biggest thing about this figure is, well, and she's a little back heavy if you're trying to stand her up with those wings, and that was what I was going to say, is the biggest thing about this figure is this is a figure designed for flying. I mean, to have her in a flight pose is kind of a necessary thing for her. I mean, you can have her like this standing, but it just doesn't really convey this character very well. So getting yourself a flight stand of some sort would be nice to have her soaring over the Avengers. But I will say that, again, going for the classic Avengers lineup, this is a figure that you more than likely want in that collection. However, I can see somebody who isn't interested in the retro looks. You know, why even bother? You know, it's a female figure. It's not overly remarkable. It's decent enough paint and whatnot, but again, it's not a super sought-after character. So I could certainly see people that aren't building a classic Avengers passing right over this, but if you are building it, I would get it. But as I said, that is it for the video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe for more content just like this. And as always, thanks for watching my video, and have a great day.